Hey guys, it's your old pal CHH. So today, I thought it would be cool to go through my Scream Factory 4K collection because I feel like I'm at a point now where I've got a pretty hearty stack, and I want to do a video where not only do I show you what I have, but my honest opinion on if you should grab, upgrade, in my opinion, of course. That doesn't mean if I say don't grab it, you shouldn't. I'll tell you why I think it would be better for you to upgrade or not. So let's get started, and I'll be honest with you. There are going to be some of these where I just said I couldn't help myself, but I'm going to be honest about it. First one is the They Live Steelbook. Now, truth be told, it's beautiful. I mean, I didn't get the regular Blu-ray 4K release of this, so getting the Steelbook seemed like a no-brainer to me. And in terms of the artwork, I've thought long and hard about it. I think this is, in fact, the best Steelbook they've done. The Army of Darkness one is a super close second, but to me, the They Live one was just a plain home run. I love it to death. Next up is Carrie. I actually do recommend upgrading this to 4K if you are a fan. I saw a significant jump in picture quality from the Blu-ray to the 4K. In terms of special features, I don't recall if there's anything newly added to it, but I do think that it's a good upgrade for sure if you're a fan of this film. The picture quality is going to be quite noticeable. If you don't like the Steelbook, though, I totally understand wanting to grab the actual physical release. But if you're into 4K and you're wondering, hey, is that a title that has a good jump up in quality? I thought Carrie looked really damn good on 4K, and it kept that gritty tone, that bleak tone that that movie has, especially with Carrie at the house with her mom and things like that. So, yeah, Carrie, I do give 2 thumbs up on the picture quality for that. All right, coming up next is Army of Darkness, my second favorite Steelbook I have. If you have the Blu-ray release, from Scream Factory, that is, you don't need to upgrade this. The Blu-rays look great, quite frankly. The HDR does boost the movie up to make it look better, sure. But I would really say only grab this if you're really a big fan of the film and you want to see it in the highest of picture quality. You could argue that for, say, Carrie or even They Live, but the reason I say that about Army of Darkness is because that Blu-ray release that they did is, quite frankly, one of the best releases Scream Factory ever did, where this one, it just boosts the picture quality up a little bit. The documentaries and stuff that were made for the Blu-ray look fantastic, so this release, I think, is a home run for sure, but I would only upscale if you need to. Now, I believe that they also 4K scanned the different cuts of this, but it wasn't advertised. 4K scan Blu-ray, that is. Like the international cut, not the television cut, because that's 4:3, but like the director's cut, I believe, was upscaled as well. But, so if that's actually another thing for you, I would consider this for sure. But in terms of Steelbooks, like, these are way better than the Steelbooks they were doing. I hated the Steelbooks that they were doing before. Hate's a strong word, but they've certainly improved. Next up in the Steelbook line, and the last one I have, is the Fog Steelbook. This was the one that I grabbed, and I was like, should I get into the 4K Steelbook game from Scream Factory? And initially, when I got into it, I said to myself, this is amazing. These are some of my favorite Steelbooks ever that Scream Factory has put out. Now, the Fog is a charmer, for sure, and it looks really good on 4K. The HDR, obviously, is going to give you some really great depth with all the fog in the scenery and things like that, and the nighttime stuff is going to have a jump in clarity from the previous Blu-rays, things like that. So the Fog is a title, if you're going to upgrade or sell off your old copies, the Fog is one that I would say is a good route to go for 4K. For John Carpenter's releases, this is a no-brainer. And while I'm thinking about it, excuse me, I do have, obviously, all the Halloween 4Ks, and I will say that those are all the best releases you can get for the Halloweens in terms of picture quality. You're going to see significant jumps in quality for Halloweens 4, 5, Curse, the biggest ever in H2O. So if you're an H2O fan, you're going to be thrilled with the uptake in picture quality on that one. Resurrection looks great. All those, I think, are home runs in terms of Halloween releases, in terms of special features and picture quality. You can't beat the 4Ks. So the first one coming up that's non-slip, or the rest of these are non-slip, Dead Silence. Now, I just reviewed this one a few days ago, maybe a week ago. The 4K is a good 4K. The film, they got all the digital look out of the movie with this 4K restoration for sure, but just be warned that James Wan shot this movie with this really bleak look. So the HDR almost is like counterintuitive to the film. So just keep that in mind if you're a fan of Dead Silence. If you have your Blu-ray for this movie, I'd say watch it. See if you're happy enough with that. And if you are, maybe consider waiting till this goes a little bit cheaper so you can get the special features. Because they have a James Wan and Lee Winnell interview. They're great interviews, so keep that in mind. But just know that even though this is going to be a good 4K transfer, the film doesn't really lend itself to the 4K format because it's shot very bleak. Next up is The Exorcist III, my favorite Exorcist film. This was just a solid 4K, great picture quality. You're only going to get the 4K scan for the theatrical cut, though, but that should not be too much of a surprise considering the footage for the unrated director's cut is really, really bad. We saw that in the Blu-ray release when they included that cut as well. No new special features. Admittedly, I got this because I'm a die-hard fan of Exorcist III. This is a great movie and only one I would recommend getting if you're a really big fan. If you have the Blu-ray for this, though, you're probably okay for now. Alright, so the biggest sleeper hit in terms of the 4Ks has to be the Dawn of the Dead remake. Admittedly, I grabbed this out of almost spite to myself. I'm just saying, damn it, you love that movie. Just go ahead and get it. I did wait for it to get a little bit cheaper, which it is now upon its initial release, and I will say that this 4K is a significant jump in quality from the Blu-ray release and a damn good 4K. This gives me hope for movies that were filmed around this era that they can look really good in 4K, and the Dawn of the Dead remake is one of my all-time favorite remakes, and it just looks fantastic. All the old special features are ported back into this, but I don't recall if there's anything new, so if that's a problem for you, again, you might want to hold off, but if you're looking for something that's going to have a big bump in quality, the Dawn of the Dead remake is a winner. As coming up next is the Krampus Naughty Cut 4K edition. This is one I would recommend. Not so much in terms of a picture quality jump. You will notice a little bit of a difference from the Blu-ray. The Blu-ray was mastered very well, so I think that the 4K wasn't a really big leap, but it is the Naughty Cut, so there are those extra moments in the film. They look good, but I will also say that there are some good interviews in here from the director Michael Dougherty. So in my opinion, this is a worthy upgrade, more so for the special features and the small extended scenes that were cut out of the movie. Alright, coming up next, this is a no-brainer. Canon Films The Company of Wolves. This is a first-time release from Scream Factory, so that should be a good sign for you all right from the start. The fact that this is a movie that a lot of people probably never owned before, and I'm worried that a lot of people didn't buy because maybe they were worried. This is a really interesting werewolf film. It's like a play on the Little Red Riding Hood story, and there are some really amazing wolf transformation scenes that, look at the cover of that. Let that be a sign. That really happens in the film. It's eclectic, it's weird, but it's a really interesting movie. I'm a big fan of The Company of Wolves and was super happy when this got announced. Support these guys because I really want to see Scream Factory put out some new titles that have never been released on Blu-ray, much less 4K. Coming up next is Lifeforce. This one I would say only really grab if you're a big fan. I am, and so when I want to watch Lifeforce, and I'm a theatrical cut guy, because as much as I like the director's cut is super long, but this one, of course, looks really good. It's an outstanding looking 4K, but you need to watch this movie to know for yourself, because Lifeforce, it's a great Tobe Hooper film, but it's not for everybody, and I'm okay admitting that, but I do love this film. Tobe has admitted he was on a lot of drugs during this time, so this movie is part vampire, part zombie, part possession, part apocalypse. This movie has a lot of moving pieces to it, and it is pretty drug and sex-fueled. So definitely check it out before buying it, and check the price, because if you can only get this cheap on the Blu-ray version, I would go for that to see if you like it, or just see if you can watch it first before purchasing this movie. But I am a big fan of Lifeforce. Guys, next up, we've got Dog Soldiers. This one's a no-brainer. This is the best this movie will possibly ever look, and it's a nice jump in quality compared to those horrendous Blu-rays. If you're a fan of Dog Soldiers, you know that a lot of the releases for this movie just look like dog crap. And even though this is going to be the most shockingly impressive 4K, it is a movie now. It actually looks good, and it's the best it'll ever look. I do recall having to set my TV to HDR10 as opposed to Dolby Vision, but that really cleared the picture up even more. So just know that if you get this, you might have to tweak your settings a little bit, but don't worry because it's going to be a nice jump in quality and you'll be really happy with this 4K. This is a no-brainer for fans of Dog Soldiers. All right, guys, coming up next, it's my all-time favorite movie, Return of the Living Dead. Of course, I want you to grab this. This movie is an absolute masterpiece. This 4K is brilliant. It is a outstanding 4K. I'm super thrilled with it, and I gotta say, the audio is great. You get the 2.0 audio. You get the original Tarman sounds back in here. Just keep that in mind that one of the songs is not in here. They had to replace that, but that's been that way for a long time as far as I can tell. You get all these bonus features from before, and they're all amazing bonus features. This is a no-brainer. Get this one for your boy. Coming up next, this is an absolute must-own on 4K, The Howling. This is an outstanding looking 4K. Extremely high jump from the previous Blu-rays. I was actually really nervous about watching The Howling on 4K because after putting on the Blu-ray a few months beforehand, I was like, man, this movie, maybe it just was filmed crappy and it just looks cheap. The 4K fixes all of that. This movie looks like $1 trillion now. If you're a fan of werewolf films and you want to see them in the best quality possible, The Howling is the one. This is one of the better horror movie 4Ks I've seen. Coming up next is Black Christmas on 4K from Scream Factory. You're going to get the, 4K scan Blu-ray, the 4K UHD disc, and then the special features disc, which ports over all the stuff that was made from before. This was a good 4K, but it was a tad uneven, if I recall. I remember some scenes not looking as good as others. But it's a legacy title that I can see a lot of people wanting to get just for the simple fact that it's Black Christmas. And for that, I say, I understand. I got it myself. This is certainly a movie I would recommend getting on 4K if you want the best picture quality available for the film and if it's a movie you watch regularly. And considering this is a Christmas movie, I would assume most of you do. Next up, guys, it is Cat People, one of my favorite remakes of all time. I adore this film. This is another solid 4K, I'd say a 40% jump in picture quality from the Blu-ray, but this is a title that I recommend seeing before you ever purchase it because Cat People may not be for everybody. It's in many ways sensual as it is, suspenseful or scary. The movie is really, really sensual. That's the only way I can put it. But some of the gore sequences even surprised me, somebody who's watched a lot of horror movies, of just how there's a great scene at the zoo with I don't even want to spoil it, but there is blood aplenty in some of the scenes in this movie, and Malcolm McDowell is fantastic in this. This is a title I definitely recommend if you watch it often and if you're a big fan of it. If you haven't seen it before, I definitely say get the Blu-ray if it's cheaper, or try to watch it beforehand and see if it's a movie you wouldn't mind picking up on 4K. Speaking of movies that I definitely just recommend if you watch them often, the Escape from New York 4K is in the same category. It's probably a 30 to 40% bump from the Blu-ray, and it's definitely a title I'm glad to have, but I only really recommend getting some of these if you're big fans of them and you watch them often. With that being said, though, I'm a big fan of Escape from New York, and you're damn right I want to see this movie in the best picture quality possible, and Adrienne Barbeau has never looked better. Next up, an absolute no-brainer, that is going to be Alligator. This was a big title announced on 4K from Scream Factory because of the fact that this movie had never hit 4K, much less Blu-ray as far as I'm concerned. This is a great film, directed by Louis Teague, 100% home run. It's not the most impressive 4K I've ever seen. It really looks like a 2K scan Blu-ray, if memory serves. I could be off on that. I just remember when I reviewed it, I checked my review, and I think that's pretty much what I said. Granted, I have a better TV now. I have an OLED and a bigger TV, so my opinion could change. But needless to say, this is a home run because you probably have never owned it before. One of the sleeper hits in the 4K Scream Factory market had to be the Funhouse. I was almost appalled at how good it looked, to be honest with you. Quite frankly, I didn't realize the Funhouse was going to whip a lot of these titles' asses in terms of how big of the jump the 4K scan did, and the Funhouse looked, quite frankly, incredible, and it really added to the eeriness of this film. Talk about a great movie. I think you would agree watching this that the Funhouse is probably in Tobe Hooper's top 5 of all time, and damn it, it deserves it. And this 4K is the way to check this movie out. 4K scan on the Blu-ray too. Always keep that in mind. All of these have 4K scan Blu-rays, so in the event that you don't have a 4K player and you may not own any of these, you'll still get the best picture quality on the Blu-rays as well. But this is a home run 4K. This one looked amazing. And I'm definitely going to give the thumbs up to both the Child's Play 2 and 3 4Ks. Significant jumps in picture qualities from those previous Blu-rays and those box sets. There are new special features on here that are all great. And I remember thinking Child's Play 2 got a little bit of a bump over 3. Not because it was shot better or the scan was better or anything like that, but because of the scenery in 2. You really get to... The HDR really gets to go to work, so to speak. So, yeah, these are both home runs. Last but certainly not least, in my top 5 of all time from John Carpenter, the Prince of Darkness release. This is a movie I will buy 1,000 times over. It's one of my favorite John Carpenter films of all time. And again, a great 4K release from Scream Factory of one of his creepiest movies. I highly recommend this 4K for sure. Really, I take that back. If you're a big fan of the film, definitely. If you watch it casually, stick with the Blu-ray. But if you just need to see Prince of Darkness in the best picture quality, like I do, then this is the one for you. So that concludes my 4K collection. Hopefully, looking back, I didn't just say buy all of them. You can really kind of tell which ones I bought because I'm a bigger fan of, and the other ones that I really meant, you know, hey, these have bigger upscales. You'll dig that. For instance, like the Dawn of the Dead looked really good. The Funhouse is the sleeper. Write that down if you have. The Funhouse is the sleeper surprise 4K jump. That one looked amazing on 4K. So things like that. The Krampus Naughty Cut, if you want to get those extra bits of footage, extra bits of horror or gore-ish type stuff, and actually some comedy moments with the ant. And then the new interview, stuff like that. So hopefully this video was helpful to somebody. Let me know your thoughts. If you have any other questions, drop them below. I'll try to get to it. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do and ding the bell so you get notified of my next videos. And drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. This is your old pal CHH. See you guys next time. Hey, a huge giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind the scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.